Welcome back to Football on the 40. I'm your host, Bowen, joined as always by Andrew and Kevin. Well, folks, to start the show off, according to the Associated Press, your Texas Longhorns are the number one college football team in the country. We're going to pause for dramatic effect. We're going to soak that in, breathe it, absorb it, feel all the vibes, really just simmer in this moment and don't think about the tough back-to-back that we'll have with OU and Georgia here coming up in October. But just appreciate right now, in this moment in history, Texas is number one. That's right. And this week, the Longhorns, we have another night game at home against ULM. Texas are huge favorites for the second week in a row. But this game's really important. It's the last week before we start the tough SEC slate. And most teams in the SEC this year, they have more of a, folks call it a cupcake team later in the season down the stretch. We notably do not. All the rest of the way, we just have SEC matchups. So this is really the last time that our starters are going to have a last opportunity to get all the rhythms right, rest, recuperate, work on certain areas of the game, make sure that we're firing on all cylinders before we start that tough slate of games. And as y'all saw from this past weekend, while we did have a really, really good showing, injuries are unfortunately a reality and a big part of the game that is played. And really any injury can happen at any moment. Thankfully, it doesn't seem like our Longhorns are affected too much, but you never know. We had a lot before the season, and hopefully we can get out of ULM injury free as well. Before we get into it, as always, we would like to thank our talented and good-looking producer, Hamilton Lizer, for all he does to make this show possible. So thank you, Hamilton. And so let's get into it, fellas. We'll start with a quick recap of UTSA. I want to hear where you watched the game, where you were this weekend, any takeaways from the game. And so we'll start with you first, Kevin.
Yeah, I was in South Texas on the hunting trip with my dad that I talked about last week. Listened to the first quarter about of the game on my phone and was really impressed the way we were moving the ball early. Quinn had a really dumb interception, but seemed to be struggling with something on his right hand. Maybe that was a part of it. But before he went out with his abdomen strain or whatever it was, the team was rolling. Uh, was clearly going to be a blowout regardless of who the quarterback was, but pretty quickly, like the storyline kind of set in with, ESPN's overreaction of Arch and Arch's long TD run and everything. And it's been pretty crazy, like all the attention that Arch has gotten, predictable probably too, but the team had another one of those games where I think Sark today said they played like 77 players. And if they wanted to score 70 points in this one, they probably could have. But Sark also mentioned after the game, like they wanted to keep it reasonable and respectful with UTSA. So I don't think they're really trying to blow them out, but they kind of did. They even got the third string quarterback in, which was fun. So it was another game to kind of get to know the names of the players and just realize like how much crazy depth we have on the team. Um, what did you think, Andrew?
Well, first off, I gotta ask, how was the hunt? How many how many dove did you shoot and all that? Give us a detail.
I limited on Saturday and then shot nine more or eight more on Sunday morning in the rain and then drove home about noon, got a double meat
There you
Whataburger on the way home. But it was really fun. It's
go.
my dad and I and my brother-in-law, Matt, and a lot of my dad's old college friends and
Awesome.
some people that I've been hunting with since I was in like second grade. So a lot of those people we only see once a year, but they're really good friendships and people to catch up with, and everybody had a good time. It was fun.
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah, you've been doing this forever. Always been a huge important weekend for you. Usually
Yeah.
it's Labor Day, right? Not
Hmm.
not this weekend, but
Yeah.
at least you got it in even a couple weeks late. So the season didn't start late this year, right? Y'all just couldn't make it in time.
No, the season starts Labor Day, but we've been hunting in this south zone by like 20 or 30 miles from the border with Mexico, and the rules are a little bit different down there where you have to wait 2 weeks to shoot all doves. They kind of limit you the first couple weeks into just shooting
Hmm.
a dove called a white wing, which is only half the population. So the last couple of years when we've been hunting down there early, we've been like seeing, some birds that we can't shoot at legally yet. So we waited a little
Yeah.
bit and it was well worth it. We had a good time.
Yeah, for sure. That's awesome. I'm glad y'all had a good time and glad you got your double meat Whataburger in too. So
Yeah.
can't pass that up on a road trip. But
Yeah.
So
go
true.
but going back to the Texas game, overall we looked pretty good. Was a bummer about Quinn. I at first I don't know. I don't know about y'all's perspective, but when I was watching it, I thought it was like a leg injury at first.
Hmm.
I think the announcers like kind of hinted at that too. I was like, oh man, non-contact leg injury, like those don't usually end pretty well. And to hear that it was just an abdominal strain from Sark at halftime definitely made me feel a lot better. I think all Longhorn fans did the quick Google search to see how long it would take to recover, and I made sure to send that in the group text with everyone. But yeah, how did y'all feel about like Quinn's injury when it happened?
Good.
I was pretty nervous too. I mean, the commentators, they just it was bad juju. They kept talking about Quinn's hand. They kept showing replays. They kept, speculating, and they were like, "Oh, he threw that pick. Was something off already?" And so it was just all bad from the get-go. And then when they went down, they thought it was his hip. So they thought it was everywhere, from the hand to the hip and the ab. It was the leg. It's like playing Operation or something. But yeah, I was pretty nervous. But obviously, we have the number one backup in the country, so um, hard to be too sad about that. But obviously, this is Quinn's year, right? So everyone's pretty
Yeah.
behind him on that. We are as well, and so yeah, hopefully he has a quick recovery and can be back by the start of SEC play. I think Sark said today that he would be, if he had to give the injury report for Mississippi State right now, he said he would be listed as questionable for Mississippi State, right? So who knows? I mean, I hope that does pan out and that he'll be able to play against them, or at worst against Oklahoma when we play them in
Yeah.
October.
I I was bummed because it was like his week with a night nationally televised game on ESPN. Before that game started, the odds had changed in the Heisman's race, and he's leading. Bowen, you recently put a bet on him,
Hmm.
and this is now the third year in a row where right when he catches his stride, he gets hurt.
Yeah.
All the seasons that he's played for us, so 2022, he got that clavicle slash sternum injury in the Alabama game, missed 3 games. Last year, he had the shoulder injury in the Houston game, missed 2 games, and he's not gonna ever have the opportunity to have a full season with us. So I think it really hurts his Heisman odds, and now it has our team in a, I don't know if predicament is the right word, but with the notoriety of Arch, the whole like Arch versus Quinn dynamic, and like who's the team bought into, and clearly Arch is athletic, and you should go with the guy that's got more upside, like, and the way that ESPN responded to that in real time, like that narrative is unavoidable now.
Hmm.
And regardless of how far this team goes, commentators, radio guys, talking heads, like that will be one of the like 2 or 3 things everyone says in every interview and like game telecast the rest of the way. So I feel bad for Quinn in that way, but also you have to give recognition to Arch. Like the way he played was pretty good, man. I think his first play in, he scored like a 20-point touchdown, and it does make the fans engaged to like see the exciting name like really show out. So I don't know. Part of me feels bad for Quinn. He looked disappointed on the sideline, but the other part of me is really excited about the future. I just hope it doesn't hang over Quinn. I don't think he's gonna play against ULM. I mean, Sark's already showed us like when a key player gets injured and you have depth issues, and I'm alluding to Jaden Blue, that guy's not playing against the opponent that you can beat without him. So I would be really surprised if Quinn played with OU and Georgia coming up, but like that's just gonna make the whole like narrative thing worse because ULM's not good. Arch is gonna score another 6 touchdowns. ESPN's gonna love it. It's gonna be all over, top 10 and Monday Night Football highlights next week again. And it really just takes the shine of the last season at Texas away from Quinn, who's like done so much and is well deserving of that attention. So mixed feelings, but also excitement.
Yeah. Can't be, I mean, every Longhorn fan's excited for the next year and hopefully the year after that with Arch. It was funny because right before his like 67-yard touchdown run that he had, Bowen, I think it was you, Bowen, you sent a text to the group. You're like, OMG, Arch. And I was like, he either scored a touchdown here, because like your stream, I think, was like 10 seconds ahead of mine. And I
Oh,
was like,
nice.
either Arch scored a touchdown here or Trey Owens is our quarterback going forward. I
You
was
thought
like,
he
it's
was
one
hurt?
of the, I was like, it's one of two options. I really hope it's a touchdown.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so funny. Yeah, yeah, I feel like this whole streaming era that we're in, some weeks I feel like y'all are ahead, some weeks I'm ahead. The only time I know that I'm ahead is if it's like the landline or not landline or whatever, but like the local TV and I'm watching it there. But it's always a gamble on the group text, like where we are at in respective game clock management.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Anything else y'all want to highlight from the game, guys?
Just two plays for me. One is Quinn's interception, which I think was impacted by whatever's going on with his hand. Um, like the worst pass I've ever seen Quinn throw was so odd. It went straight to the defender in the flat. And I think that happening so close to him getting hurt gives us the impression that he wasn't really playing that well. And that's not the case. He was 14 of 16 for almost 200 yards and two TDs in like a quarter. And one of those two incompletions out of 16 passes was the weird one that was intercepted. So, like, he was on fire. And the
Mhm.
second one is Arch's long touchdown run, um, which was in a way like if you were paying attention, like number one, Arch is crazy athletic. We've been hearing about these stories of how fast the guy is, and to see it is impressive. Like that's real. Because you hear some hype out of the fall that's not real. That appears to be real. And the second thing was um, the offense looked really different with Arch. I don't know if you guys noticed that. Like with Quinn, it's all about like from the gun, like quick pass game, getting a lot of receivers involved. And with Arch, it almost immediately switched to this like zone read game where you rely heavily on the offense needing or the defense needing to respect that the quarterback can run. Like if you go watch the game again, like to see Sark respond so naturally to the different styles that they have and really play two different offensive styles in the same game is kind of cool to see your head coach with like everything else going on, clock management, the drone show, the flyover, like all the fans, night game, to be so in it and aware that, he's able to really adjust something that he's prepared for all week and do something totally different because he's got a guy with a different skill set on the field. I thought that was really cool. I know we've talked a ton about UTSA, but it was an interesting game. And if y'all rewatch the game, pay attention to that because they start doing different things, which is cool.
Yeah, you said it
Yeah,
well.
for
I
sure.
agree. Like efficiency versus explosiveness. You could definitely tell from watching it and the flips too. So definitely exciting. Both ways we can see it. But as I say, we gotta go on to the next one, 1-0. And we're on to Louisiana Monroe. So Andy, why don't you tell us a little about Louisiana Monroe? Give us some background, what the listeners need to know.
Yeah, for sure. So, I'm gonna give y'all five quick facts about Louisiana Monroe. First one, started in 1934, but started as a junior college. So it was a JUCO for about 15 years. But then in 1949, 1950, they became a four-year institution. Um, so yeah, that was interesting. Their previous name, in which they had until 1999, was Northeast Louisiana University. Honestly, I like University of Louisiana Monroe better. I think that flows a little bit better than how it used to be. But yeah, that's interesting. About 8,400 students go to Louisiana Monroe, so that's the third fact right there. Fourth fact, they are the 369th university um, they're ranked 369 out of 439 on the U.S. News rankings, which makes them the lowest ranked academic school Texas will play all year. Not to throw shade there, but I think it's just had to be said. And then lastly, I was kind of surprised by the alumni list there, but Tim McGraw did go to Louisiana Monroe. He actually went there on a baseball scholarship, so a little more athletic than I thought he was. And he picked up his music career in college after a bad knee injury, and supposedly was not very good at music at first. He kind of struggled with the guitar, but obviously became a huge sensation. Guys, I got to ask y'all, favorite Tim McGraw song?
Man, this is gonna get me in trouble, but Red Rag Top.
Dang, I
If
have
you
no
haven't heard
idea.
it, Bowen, listen to it.
Not me, not me, not me. Googling Tim McGraw songs. Okay, let me see.
Honesty is
or his
always the
one
best
with
policy.
Post Malone.
Oh yeah, that one was a good
I
one.
think it's
That's a
called The
new
Wrong
one.
Ones. That one's pretty good. I love
Yeah,
that
There you
album.
go.
we'll go with that one. That's a good album.
There you go. Those are good ones for sure. But yeah, other famous alumni there. Willie Robertson of Duck Dynasty was there. I personally didn't watch that show too much, but maybe y'all did. Doug Peterson, did not know he went there, but coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Not sure how much longer, but he's still the coach there. And then Tim Brando, the announcer that we all love to hate, he went to University of Louisiana Monroe. So thought that was all kind of interesting. And then I found some like quick facts about Monroe, Louisiana. Usually we don't incorporate this into our podcast, but I thought it was too interesting to pass up. But um, yeah, Delta Airlines actually started their operations in Monroe, Louisiana as a crop dusting company, and they were the first ever crop dusting company in the US, which I thought that was really cool. It was right before the Dust Bowl too, so I don't know how much of an impact that had on their business. I'm sure they did all right because huge airline now. I'm not sure when they made the transition, but I thought that was an interesting nugget. And then second thing, Bill Russell was born there, which is interesting. One of the top five, top 10 basketball players of all time. And then kind of alluded to this earlier, but Duck Dynasty, they are based in the Monroe area. So
I wonder
all
what you
that.
get. I wonder what you get with diamond status with a crop dusting company. Do you think they had rewards programs back then? Probably not.
Probably not. I'm gonna go out on
Priority
that.
crop dusting.
Yeah. Priority
Man.
boarding? No, it doesn't make sense. I should have thought through that joke a little more. They do have a notable win against a notable team. We looked a little bit at their football history. It's nothing special except for this, but what's their cool football fact, Andy?
Cool football fact. They did beat Alabama in Nick Saban's first year. I think the score was 21-14. So that was pretty interesting. A lot of first year head coaches at big universities, they'll point to that loss and it's like, well, Saban lost to Louisiana Monroe in his first year and look what he did. And it's kind of a ridiculous thing to say, um, but yeah, a lot of coaches kind of point back to that to try to boost their own confidence at their respective school.
Yeah.
But yeah, by far their biggest victory within the last 20, 30 years. But
And they were
well,
25-point underdogs in that game. You jotted down. So hopefully the line this week will make us more comfortable knowing they've done that before. I think they're favored or we're favored by over 40 points, which is crazy, but we'll get more into that during
yeah,
betting corner. Um,
yeah, for sure.
yeah, Bowen alluded to it off the top. Another night game at home, so more drones, more smoke that they may have paused the game for. I don't know if y'all noticed that against UTSA because the wind wasn't blowing. But yeah, set the stage, Andrew. What time? What's the weather going to be like?
Yeah. So last week it started at 6 o'clock. This week starts at 7. So that's great. Another night game at Darrell K. Royal, Texas Memorial Stadium. The high on Saturday is 98 degrees, so it's going to be in the 90s to start the game, and kind of similar wind conditions and rain conditions as well. Five as last week, 5 to 10 miles per hour. Um, I think it's like 10% chance of rain, so highly unlikely it rains. So it should be a nice night, a little warm, but yeah, if y'all haven't been to a night game since they started the drones show last year, y'all definitely should make it out, even against a school like Louisiana Monroe. But let's dive into their season a little bit more. Kev, what do you got?
Yeah, they're 2-0. They've played two opponents that I think combined to be 3-3 football teams. So they haven't played a big program yet, and based on their numbers and the line and what Vegas is thinking, like this again is not one that listeners or fans need to be worried about. But to get to know the team a little bit more, they have a first-year head coach named Bryant Vincent. He's a brand new head coach. This is his third game, and he's taking on the number one team in the country, and was complimentary of us in his press conference today that I watched a little bit of. In his college career, he's been bouncing around the Sun Belt a lot. This is the third separate program that he's coached in their conference. He's also got offensive coordinator and offensive skill position coaching experience at South Alabama and UAB. And he started like many other coaches, in his rank in high school teams. So he's from Alabama and actually won Class 5A Coach of the Year while coaching the Greenville, Alabama high school to a 10-3 record in I think 2006. And I noted that down because I've got family in Alabama and I drive through Greenville every time I go to our farm out there. So I've there's a RTJ golf course in Greenville, Angie, and it's a nice little town. But
Hey, the
Alabama guy,
next time you play there, you just gotta remember this coach.
yeah, remember Bryant Vincent. But he said in his press conference, obviously it's the outcome is expected to be slanted, not in their favor. His focus is on making his team kind of have a positive mindset going into the challenge and to be excited about things like playing their first road game in a really cool environment with like 100,000 fans. Um, and he said watching film on Texas's defense that it's the best defense he's seen since the last time ULM played Georgia. So similar, compliments that Jeff Traylor gave the team last week. Bryant Vincent was saying a lot of nice things about us. So they'll enjoy their trip to Austin. Hope it's a safe game for everybody, but they are not going to win, and I don't think they expect to. But their offense is a little bit different than what we've seen so far. They're predominantly a rushing team. In their two games, they only have about 220 passing yards and only two passing touchdowns. For comparison, Texas has 13 passing touchdowns. So this is mostly a running team. They have about two times as many rushing yards as they have passing yards, which is unusual in the college game. And it might, you know, give our interior defensive line a little bit more work than they have had in the past couple weeks, but it shouldn't be a problem. Um, I think it's surprising too that they're mostly a running team because they have a recognizable name at quarterback and a funny one also. Um, General Booty, who's from Allen, Texas, the high school that Kyler Murray went to, is a name we might know or listeners might know. He started his career at Oklahoma and has now transferred to ULM. So we'll see a familiar, funny name playing quarterback against us, and we'll see what he can do against us. I think he's a little bit of a running threat as well, but overall, their offense, shouldn't make you lose any sleep this week. Any
Yeah.
takes on the offense, Andrew, or General Booty?
Well, when we played OU in 2022, I was pretty bummed. I think he ended up being injured, but that was the year Dylan Gabriel wasn't healthy. We killed OU 49-0. And since we were killing OU by so much, I was like, oh, I bet General Booty is going to come in. That's going to be hilarious. Like, there's no way he's going to succeed. But unfortunately, he didn't go in, so that was kind of a bummer. But Interesting kind of fact about him is that I think it's his uncle, is John David Booty, who was the quarterback for USC after Matt Leinart, which is interesting because Sark was the OC. I think he was OC at that point. At the very least, he was a quarterback's coach at USC when his uncle was there. So there's like some connection with
Yeah.
that family with Sark, which I think that's pretty cool. And just kind of on the rushing front, like I'm glad we're playing a team that runs the ball a little bit more because there's overall, I think a rush defense that's been good. It hasn't been as great as last year, but there have been too many moments for like my liking based on the caliber of opponent. So take out Michigan, but Colorado State and UTSA, I just felt like there are too many times um, that they had big runs that they made, and obviously UTSA had like that 40-yard touchdown that they ran, and we just had misassignments there, and we didn't read the run gaps well. But yeah, I just think it'd be a good test, even though we're superior to them in about every way. It'd just be good to kind of sharpen up our rush team. So,
Yeah.
what do y'all think?
I agree. I think it's probably the ideal offense you would want to play against going into an all ACC schedule the rest of the year because if they're relying on the run that much, they're probably mixing up the run game concepts quite a lot. And there's probably like a lot to prepare for the linebackers and the defensive line, which will be, I don't know, it'll get their minds right, hopefully, before we play teams like Georgia coming up here soon. I also quickly looked at the defense also, and not a whole lot popped off of the page, but their turnover margin did. They're a team that's been getting a couple turnovers a game. They've got two fumble recoveries and two interceptions. So I think here, you know, it'll be great experience for Arch, but we might see him kind of make some freshman mistakes and get taken advantage of by DBs that already have interceptions this season. So, we will want to take care of the ball just like any other game, but just keep that in mind that this defense, although it's ULM and the score might look like it is, they've had a lot of takeaways already this season. So, um, hope we have one where we don't catch the injury bug again. There was a lot of players going down for us against UTSA, and it maybe we'll score 60. I don't even know if Sark wants to, but
Yeah.
we might
Yeah.
see more of Trey Owens again, which would be cool too.
It will be the first time that teams will have, I mean, I'm sure they game plan to an extent for Quinn, or excuse me, for Arch past couple games, but you know, I think ULM will be focused specifically on Arch, and he's got tape on him now, and like Kevin said, I don't think we should be worried. I think the result should be what we expect on Saturday, but it will be interesting to see how Arch maybe has some tendencies that show up on film that they might be able to exploit, and hopefully
Hmm.
not, but it will be good to see, and good litmus test going into conference play.
Yeah, and I mean it could also play in our favor too, like the whole injury situation. Like if you play out a scenario where Quinn's in plain clothes on the sideline in this one too. They're going to build on that tape that Arch has and that style of the offense, the zone read style of the offense that they play with Arch's skill set. And it will make teams like Oklahoma and Georgia have much more to do in preparation before playing us because that uncertainty will kind of continue to roll forward. So it could be a good thing, that they have to basically prepare for two different offenses during what is the going to be the hardest part of our season playing those teams back to back. But we'll see. I'll be watching. I'm sure you guys are too. Y'all said you aren't going to the game. Are you watching at home or what are your plans for Saturday?
Yeah, just kind of take it easy, watch it at home. OU and Tennessee play at the roughly the same time, so I'll have that on another screen, and
Yeah.
that'll be fun. But what about y'all?
Yeah, I'm gonna watch it at home too. Sold the ticket for this week, so I'm gonna spend some time at home watching it before. We've had some traveling these past couple weekends, and October is gonna be pretty busy too. So
Yeah.
felt
We'll
like
be
a
in
good one
Dallas here
to
shortly.
rest up.
It
Yeah.
will be a good weekend to own multiple TVs because A&M's also playing in that afternoon time slot. So you'll have OU and Tennessee, which I think might be the biggest game of the week, us and A&M at the same time. So I might have to go buy another TV. Laura will be happy about that.
It's an
Um,
investment. It's an investment.
yeah,
Cool.
but we've got our weekly trivia, a budding, segment that is competing for social media attention with Betting Corner. This is a season-long series that we've been enjoying, me especially lately. So, Andrew, let's do trivia.
Yeah, so Kev has a 4-3 advantage over Bo. He got 2 points last week, so kudos, Kev. We'll see how this week goes for both of y'all. So the theme of this week is going to be number one, since Texas became number one in the AP poll. So that's the theme for this week, and let's just get into it. So in 2008, Texas, or 2008 was the last season Texas was the number one team in the AP poll. Uh, they were number one for 3 weeks. Can y'all name the three teams that Texas was number one against? And whoever says the most correct teams wins the point. So this week, let's start with Kevin first on this one, and then Bo second.
Okay, I'm gonna go. This is essentially a guess. Baylor, Iowa State, and TCU. Well, no, Baylor, Iowa State, and Texas Tech.
Okay. Bowen, what about you?
Okay, I had Oklahoma, TCU, and Iowa State.
Kevin gets it. He was the
Dang.
only one to get named one of the teams. It was Texas Tech. That was correct. We lost to Tech that year. So that was the last week we were number one. We were also number one against Missouri the week after OU beating what was then number one OU. And then we were number one also against Oklahoma State. So it was Missouri, Oklahoma State, Texas Tech. Kevin gets a point for that one.
Dang.
So the next one is going to be whoever's closest to the right number. Um, so yeah, Texas is obviously number one this week again for the first time. How many weeks in its history has Texas been the number one team in the AP poll? So Bowen, you go first this time, then Kevin.
Oh gosh, Kevin looks like he knows the answer. Oh, I'm gonna embarrass myself. We'll say 14.
I'm gonna say 23.
Kevin is closest. It's actually
Dang.
46.
Oh
So
man, I thought it was less.
y'all
I
are
was
way
so
off.
sure about that.
I was way off.
So yeah, Kevin, you get all 3 points this week. It's a huge week
Dang,
for
I'm
Kev.
falling
So
behind. I'm falling
yeah,
behind.
Bo, you got to catch up. You got to
That's a
catch up,
four
man.
point lead, right?
That's
It
huge.
is a 4 point lead. Yeah, seven to
Nice.
three. So we'll see. I'm sure Bowen will come back
I'm
throughout the
losing the
season. But yeah.
drivers. I'm losing the constructors. This is rough. This is rough.
But yeah, that's it for trivia this week. Let's get into betting corner.
Nice. Thanks, Andy. Well, I wish there was something I could do about studying up for that, but I just gotta, I think it's just mental preparation and locking in. And so I gotta do a better job moving forward, but appreciate you leading us through that every week. All right. That does take us into betting corner. Well, folks, last week we all did not do well. Well, most of us did not do well. I did not do well by the largest margin. I was down about 1.2 units. Kevin was down about zero point 0.4 units, and Andy finished up a little over half a unit, zero point 0.6 units. So he did well for the week. On the season, though, I am still technically in the lead. I'm the least biggest loser, I guess. I'm at negative 1.4 units. Kevin is at negative 4.4, and Kevin and Andy is at negative 5.4. So, yeah, dipping into negatives, not a good trend, but we're gonna try to reverse that this week for sure. We're gonna a good ULM squad is coming into town. We'll see if we can capitalize on some maybe some angles on the game. One that will be only probably for the bravest of us. As Kevin alluded to, we did open as 44.5 point favorites. So that's over 6 scores, almost 7 touchdowns. Vegas expect us to win by, with an over with a total, excuse me, of 52 and a half. So if you do the math there, that is implying basically Louisiana Monroe a little over 3.5 points ish, and Texas almost, yeah, like 48, 40-ish points, almost 7 scores just on our own. So that'll be, again, only for the brave of us. We'll see if Kevin or Andy feel brave enough. Spoiler alert, I do not, but we'll see. We'll see what they say. I prepared a few other statistics as well this week, just so we can get into some, not super deep analysis, but for the season, folks, we are 3-0 against the spread. As they say, good teams win, great teams cover. We're 3-0. ULM, though, is also 2-0. So a couple of folks that are performing really well against the spread. We're 2-1 on hitting the over. They have hit the under on both of their games. And we're both undefeated as well, just money line. So yeah, it'll be interesting for sure to see what angles the boys like this game. Andy, we'll start with you first. What are you liking this game? And yeah, let us know what you like, and then we'll go to Kevin.
Yeah, so for the viewers, listeners out there, last week my strategy did work. I was 2-1 on my bets, and my strategy was make a bet and then do the complete opposite of it. So fading myself did work, and so we're gonna go back to that strategy again. I hate the cover. I really don't think we're gonna cover. So give me 2 units on Texas covering. Somehow we're gonna do it, boys. Texas by 45.
Jeez. I can't
Wow.
believe that. I'm gonna
Nice.
go with the over. The over is 52 and a half. For those that don't know, that's the combined total of both teams. And I'm gonna put 3 units on that. I also like the first quarter line. I don't know if you saw that, Bowen, but in the first quarter, Texas is favored by 10. I'm gonna put
Hmm.
1 unit on Texas to cover in the first quarter. So essentially betting that we get off to a hot start. Um,
Cool.
and
I
that'll be
like
it for
it.
me on the Texas game. What are you taking?
All right, I'm taking a couple things. I did hint at this before, but the implied team total for ULM is 3.5, and I'm
Oh,
getting plus money on that. So we need a field goal and a lucky field goal or a lucky kick return or a lucky pick six. I mean, obviously, hopefully the game is far and away not competitive at that point, but 3.5 points. I mean, come on. We gotta ULM, you gotta put on 3.5 points. So I'm getting plus 115 on that. So I'm putting 4 units on that. And I'm gonna take the under this week too. Um, I I hope my ideal game script for this is Arch just plays the first half. We see Trey Owens this entire second half. We get scout team out there. We get the third string. Really, we get Brady out there rocking. He's our tackle leader for the game. So that would be my ideal game script. And I think we'll with all the injury stuff. I mean, I think we'll hopefully um, first quarter and first half lines, I think are feel really good. So Kevin, I like that a lot. But um, yeah, I'm hoping that second half we just kind of go in autopilot and try to get to Mississippi State.
yeah. I think we're gonna run the ball a lot. I almost am curious after this to see what the prop bets are on our running backs to see if we can take one of those on Jared Gibson or something because I think that freshman Jared Gibson guy might start, but
Yeah, he was running good. Um,
Yeah, for sure.
nice. All right, well that's the bets for Texas. What about elsewhere around college football or other sports? Kevin, we'll go back to you. We'll start with you first. Any other bets that you're liking across the slate of games?
yeah, I'm almost considering like taking Andrew's strategy where you do the opposite of what you think is going to happen, but I might make wait one more week for that. Part of the reason for it is going into the season, my strategy was like be boring, bet on, Georgia covers, and I bet on that Georgia Kentucky game for Georgia to blow them out, and then they like almost lost and only kicked field goals all night. So I'm reeling a little bit from that, but Um, I think the biggest game of the weekend is Tennessee going to Oklahoma. Tennessee's favored by 7. That's another one I'll be watching. I like to bet on the games that I'm watching. And I think Tennessee's gonna just kill them. Tennessee's offense is really good. I'm gonna put let's see. I'm gonna put 5 units on Tennessee covering that -7 line.
Woo! Woo! That's a big bet right there.
Yeah.
I love it.
Oklahoma has not looked very good, guys.
No, they haven't. Which hopefully that continues until October. But yeah, Kev, I'm gonna kind of follow your lead a little bit. Tennessee, they play OU, as Kevin said. I uh, I really like the over in this game. I think Tennessee has an explosive offense. I think OU might surprise some people, score more points than kind of what they've been doing. So yeah, I was feeling great about the over. So got to fade myself, taking 2 units on the under. I just somehow it's going to be the under 57 and a half. Somehow it's going to be a defensive struggle some way, somehow. So give me 2 units on Tennessee or the under for that game. And then let me just look up this last bet. Yeah, so Michigan plays USC. USC has looked really good this season. Michigan has not. They went to Alex Orgy today as their starting quarterback. I don't know how they're going to pass the ball. Somehow Michigan's going to cover that game. Give me 2 units on Michigan. I feel terrible about this pick. I really feel terrible about all my picks, but I think that's going to bode well for me next week. So we'll see.
Unbelievable.
I
I'm
love
I'm
it.
gonna take
I love
I'm gonna
it.
take one more, Bowen. So in
Okay.
that time slot that we talked about, A&M's also playing. They have a home game against Bowling Green. A&M's favored by 23. Um, Not surprisingly, I'll be rooting against them. So I'm gonna take Bowling Green with my last unit in play this week. 1 unit for Bowling Green to cover plus 23. What do you have, Bowen?
All right. Um, I don't have anything elsewhere around the slate of games, but I do have one other one on the Texas game I forgot to mention. I have 2 units on Isaiah Bond, anytime touchdown. I think it'll probably be like -3 or 400 based on how they do college football anytime touchdown scores, but it's so fun to watch him run. He's so talented, and I want some action on him getting in the end zone. So I might take actually over 1.5 touchdowns. Um, we'll see.
Wow.
But yeah, all
Yeah.
all my actions on this game.
Yeah, he's our leading receiver this season. I mean, we've played 3 games. It's good to check in on that. Like, who's gonna be the identity of the offense passing? He's got 3 touchdowns now, the most receptions on the team at 13, and 215 yards through 3 games. Also, like, I know this isn't part of this segment, but we have like 4 receivers with more than 7 receptions that are also averaging like over 12 yards a reception. So, I mean, dude, we're so scary to play against, but
Yeah, the
yeah,
receiver room is
Bond is
great.
so
I
good.
love it.
Also, if Wingo had one, I would take one on Wingo too.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Wingos looked
for
so
sure.
good.
Yeah, definitely. When Bond scored his second touchdown, the little screen pass, Mary Page, she was just watching, and this was kind of her first game to watch like in detail this season. Um, and she was watching and seeing him run. She was just like, he's so fast, and like
Mm,
Yeah.
just like it like blew her mind how fast he was compared to the rest of the players on the field.
I think I saw a
yeah,
tweet. It was some analytics, college football analytics Twitter account. I think he clocked the #1 top speed for the week. I don't know if that
really,
was, I don't know if that was only touchdown score runs. But yeah, I'll have to send you all the tweet. He was moving. He was
that's
moving.
cool.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Nice. All
Perfect.
right, cool. Well, I will get those bets in. And Andy, I love the fading strategy. I hope you stick to that all season. If you win because of it, I will not be upset. I'm so that's respect. All right. Well, we'll go
Trust the
into
process.
That would be like really damning for the betting corner segment.
hey, whatever works. Whatever works. Don't knock it, Whatever works for the listeners. Okay, Kevin, why don't you take us into quick score predictions? What do you like? Lead us off.
Yeah, so it's expected to be a blowout. We'll do quick score predictions here. I'm predicting 52-10 Texas. I think if we wanted to score 70, we could, but Sark cares more about getting, the walk-ons experience and building depth in your 2 and 3 deep. So I don't think we're going to score over like 55. I'm going 52-10. What do y'all have?
Give me 52-7. Somehow we got to cover. So that's 45 points right there. So what do you got?
Nice. I'm 42-13. So I talked a little bit about it before. I need the ULM offense to come through. I could use the defense coming through as well, with a pick or something. But obviously, I want Texas to win first and foremost. But I think we'll hit the brakes as well in the second half. So yeah, 42-13 is my prediction for this week. All right, folks. Well, that brings us to a close of another outstanding, I might say, episode. That'll do it for us this week. Thanks again for listening. Hope y'all learned a thing or two about ULM. And for those going to the game on Saturday, hope y'all enjoy the drone show, all the smoke that hopefully will clear up if we get some wind, and a nice another low resting heart rate type of game. And that'll do it for us. So we'll see you on the next Football on the 40.
Hook 'em. Number one.